Hey, welcome everyone. Today we're diving into some pretty wild territory. Trump's new tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber could really shake things up, especially when it comes to our everyday essentials like toilet paper.
Absolutely. It's like just when we thought that whole toilet paper panic of 2020 was behind us, here comes this move, potentially doubling tariffs from 14% up to 27%, and then maybe even over 50%. Can you believe that?
Yeah, it's a crazy development. It's like, these tariffs are not just about lumber. They're about hitting that very backbone of the American supply chain for essential items.
Yeah.
Think about it. A major ingredient is Canadian NBSK pulp, prized for its strength, softness, and absorbency.
Right. That premium pulp is absolutely critical. And with the US importing around 2 million tons from Canada, it accounts for roughly 30% of the material in toilet paper and half in paper towels. It's huge.
Exactly. And what's even more startling is how dependent major brands are. I mean, we're talking about companies that have relied exclusively on Canadian mills for like decades. It's not
Yeah.
like they can just switch suppliers overnight.
And that brings up the big question. If these tariffs force Canadian mills to possibly shut down, are we now staring at a potential toilet paper shortage reminiscent of the pandemic era chaos?
Definitely. Imagine it's like, having your favorite coffee shop suddenly run out of coffee beans. It's bound to cause a ruckus.
Yep.
Experts warn we might see empty shelves and frantic hoarding all over again.
That's a worrisome scenario. And there's also the knock-on effect on construction activities. Tariffs increasing lumber prices means fewer trees, and then there's less wood chips for pulp, right?
Ah, yes, exactly. It's like a domino effect. Fewer harvested trees lead to even less raw material, which could drive prices through the roof, hitting inflation even
Yeah.
harder. It's all interconnected. Supply chains, construction, consumer prices.
And let's not forget the broader economic repercussions. This isn't just about one product. It's potentially souring the trade relationship between Canada and the US. Historically, that partnership has been rock solid.
For sure. And I mean, it's ironic. Trump's protectionist strategy might end up hurting American consumers instead of boosting domestic
Mhm.
industries. Factories relying on that top quality Canadian pulp might suffer, and consumers could end up paying more or worse, facing shortages.
It's like you think you're protecting a sector, but then the ripple effects touch so many other areas. Now, what's even more intriguing is the academic fallout, right?
Absolutely, and that's a whole other layer of the story. Prominent voices in academia, like Jason Stanley and others, are literally packing up their old lives at Yale and fleeing for stability, heading over to the
Right.
University of Toronto. It's a sharp critique of what's seen as an increasingly authoritarian tilt in US politics.
Yeah, and it's not just about academic positions. It's a signal, like an intellectual brain drain. We're losing some of the brightest minds who feel stifled by this oppressive political climate.
Exactly. When respected historians and philosophers like Timothy Snyder and Marcy Shaw start drawing parallels with historical authoritarian regimes, it really puts things into perspective. The whole scenario underscores not only economic vulnerability, but also a cultural and intellectual loss.
But here's a point I want to challenge a bit. Some say these tariffs were intended to protect domestic industries. Don't you think there might be some merit in protecting local jobs, even if it comes with short-term pain?
That's a fair challenge. And yeah, on the surface, protectionism can seem like a way to save local jobs. However, when you factor in the heavy reliance on Canadian pulp for key products, the result could be, well, a net loss for consumers. Not
Right.
only does it threaten supply chains, but it also endangers broader economic stability by risking international relationships.
I see the point there. It's like trying to fix one problem while inadvertently causing another. And the timing is just unfortunate given the current economic pressures.
Exactly. The extra levies and increased tariffs might boost protection in one area, but they have cascading consequences, rendering construction less viable, inflating prices, and even impacting trade relations.
Sure.
It's a classic case of unintended consequences.
And speaking of unintended consequences, it's almost poetic, really, if you think about it, how actions aimed at saving jobs or the economy might lead to a situation where essential everyday items go scarce. Who would have thought, right?
Right, it's like a modern day irony. Imagine going to the store for your weekly necessities and finding empty shelves, only to learn it all ties back to a tariff decision way up north. It's a high stakes game
Yeah.
of economic chess.
And What do you think the long-term impact might be on the US-Canada relationship? It seems like these moves are bound to raise tensions.
You bet. The relationship has been incredibly stable for so long, but these tariffs could unsettle that balance. It risks not only triggering trade disputes, but also causing lasting damage that could reshape regional alliances and economic policies for years to come.
Yeah, it's a real wake-up call, and honestly, it paints a pretty troubling picture of the future, one where our economical and intellectual landscapes are under threat simultaneously.
Absolutely. It's like we're seeing cracks appear in two critical aspects of society: consumer stability
Right.
and academic freedom. And if these cracks aren't addressed, we might be in for a long period of instability.
This discussion really shows just how intertwined everything is: tariffs, supply chains, construction, and even intellectual exchange. All are affected by policy decisions at the highest levels. Would you say this serves as a cautionary tale for policymakers?
Without a doubt, it's a clear reminder that even policies meant to secure domestic interests can end up having far-reaching, sometimes messy, consequences.
Yeah,
And as
absolutely.
we move forward, the hope is that decision makers realize the risks before the next crisis hits at the checkout counter.
Well, here's to hoping for smarter, more holistic approaches to such complex issues. Thanks for the deep dive into this really intriguing topic.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Remember, policies have many layers, and sometimes a small tweak can snowball into something much bigger than
Yep.
expected. Stay curious and keep questioning, and we'll be here to break it down next time.